Gamification as a way of organizing the creative activity of students in the classroom. Gamification is becoming an increasingly popular concept in teaching. Today's generation of people have grown up with video and computer games, and they look for excitement. The fast pace of many games fits their short attention spans. The concept of gamification is using game elements in non-game context to motivate and persuade, is moving from marketing to teaching. While games have long been part of a language teacher's bag of tricks, teachers can benefit from learning about the elements of games that would help us appeal to today's learners. Let me start talking about one of my favorite subjects. I'll be talking about how to use games in your teaching, how to turn your classroom into a game-like environment, into a learning world that is gamified. So, move on to talk a little bit about how we do this. I'm going to start by talking about what a game is, then why you might want to gamify. So game mechanics, how turn of an activity into a game, how I gamify my class, and what you could do to gamify yours, a few digital tools. So let me start now with this idea of what is a game. It's a system that has rules, challenge, feedback, some kind of interaction. It's got to be fun, and often there is an emotional response. Gamification is adding elements of games and gaming to regular activity that we don't normally think of as games. So, it's not playing games, it's turning what you are doing into a game environment with game mechanics. The term gamification was first coined around 2002 by Nick Pillin. It's starting to become more popular through around 2011 in the business. So let's talk about using gamification in education. To turn the classroom into a game environment, not where you play games, but where the environment is itself game to learners. So it's a little different from playing games, which is, I'm sure, all of us do in a class. This is different. Our students use games as a verb. Gaming is a part of people's life these days, and the reason that we want to add it to education, why we want to gamify our classroom. Students achieve learning outcomes if it's done well. Learners can move from extrinsic motivation, external rewards, to intrinsic motivation. Learning for the sake of learning. The other reason is that you are always moving up. The classroom environment more like a game, and sometimes it's easier you think, because sometimes it's just how you call things that starts to change the attitude from class to new learning world. Here on the left you see vocabulary related to game and game vocabulary about elements of games. On the right side you see classroom vocabulary. Let's to figure out which ones match, which ones on the left can be really similar. At the first experience points, XPs, for exactly the same as grades. Remember, grades go down. You start at your plus and you descend with every quiz and test and activity that you don't do perfectly. With experience points, with a game everybody starts to zero and everybody moves up, because everything that you do adds points. So it's not quite the same, but it's very similar. And you can convert experience points at the end of the class back into grades. Group work matches with your party, teams, so it's a little different from always sit in your group. You can offer students to sit in your party and do this on your team. A quest is a large project. Now a lot of us do projects in class. We have large projects or smaller activities. The smaller activities might be a task using game vocabulary. A large project is a quest. Students like project works because project is fun, but a quest now that is really cool for them. You can choose a variety of things as level. Often successfully completing a unit can be moving up to the next level. You can choose successfully a learning objectives to move up to the next level. So you are the teacher, you are the game designer in your classroom, you are gamifying, you are the one who chooses what counts as a level and how people move up. Teachers of young learners are very familiar with rewards. But adult learners didn't care about badges. But there are other people who wanted them on their Facebook page. So whatever you do, give rewards in a game. We don't always give rewards in classes, but we always give rewards in games. Whether they are points or stars, but mostly the rewards in games are badges. Players versus players, we have, of course, competition. This is a collaborative game space as well as one with competition because it's a classroom. We want people working together as well as doing things that are competitive. And then we have game constraints, the things that you are and are not allowed to do. They are class rules in the classroom. So this is one way to start thinking about gamifying, to start saying, okay, how do I change classroom environment? So that's we counting up. We are using points from starting at 0. How do we talk about things? Let's have quest and task instead of assignment, or quest instead of projects. Even if it's exactly the same thing, but with a different name which gives it. Let's talk about progress. In any game you have progress, and as I said before, remember you are always going up. In this chart, the red or pink bars are showing weekly scores on a word list. So 10, 15, 10, 15, 8, 9, 10 scores. The rank goes up and down in little increments. So each week doesn't give you the sense that you're better next week. You'll just go up and down. But if you look at the blue line, total number of words is much more motivating. At the first week you learned 10 words, at the second you've had 22 words, the third week are nearly 40 words. This is one thing you are showing people that they are getting better, and it's very motivating. It's that's giving our learners clear a sense of progress. So let's talk a little bit about how to gamify a learning process. The first step is, like everything in teaching, is to start with our learning objectives or learning outcomes. We start with where we want students to be, we want them to be able to do at the end of the class. So we start with that, then we think about what are our task assignments, what are our quests, major projects. So we figure out how we are going to do that. We are going to figure out how to assign points. You can choose the things what for your assigned points. You can summon out these points and learners will break through another level and get certain badges. So you can give the assistant badges for certain level of collaboration points working in a group. The expert badges is given for certain level of experience points, and you see a lot of badges that we can give for classroom work in gamifying environment. Here are some digital tools for gamifying your learning process. You can use Quizlet app, Words app for learning vocabulary. For developing reading skills, you can use Read Alone app. For learning English, you can use Duolingo app. For learning English grammar, students can use English grammar test app. For writing skills, you can offer them IELTS writing app.